Level 1. Survival mode under $15,000 per year. The day doesn't begin with comfort, it begins with calculation. Before anything else happens, there's a quiet mental audit running in the background. Not optional, not occasional, constant. How much money is actually available right now? Which bill is closest to overdue? Which one can be delayed without consequences hitting immediately? That question alone shapes the entire day. There's no luxury of thinking about preferences. Breakfast isn't about craving something warm or satisfying. It's about availability. It's about access. It's about whether anything exists at all. The environment reflects that reality. Maybe it's a shared room where privacy barely exists. Maybe it's a couch that isn't technically permanent. Sometimes it's a shelter where every hour has rules. The morning starts early, not out of discipline, but because staying in one place too long isn't always allowed. Every move is intentional. Phone battery matters, not for entertainment, but for survival. A dead phone can mean missed opportunities, lost communication, or being cut off from resources entirely. So charging becomes a priority. Outlets become valuable. Places like libraries aren't just buildings, they're temporary stability. A chair, warmth, and a few uninterrupted hours. That's gold. Food is mapped out the same way. Cheap options, free options, anything that stretches. Every location visited has a purpose. A restroom that won't turn someone away. A place to sit without being told to leave. Routes are planned carefully, not just for efficiency, but for safety. And here's something most people never see from the outside. The amount of thinking happening at this level is intense. It's constant problem solving. It's logistics. It's strategy. Every single day is a system that has to function perfectly because there's no margin for error. Miss one step and everything can fall apart. This isn't about laziness or lack of effort. It's the opposite. The brain is overloaded, juggling dozens of variables at once. Where to go? What to eat? Who to avoid? What to prioritize? If children are part of the picture, everything doubles in complexity. School meals become part of the plan. Timing matters even more. Every decision carries weight because it affects more than one person. It's not just survival anymore. It's responsibility layered on top of survival. And through all of it, there's pressure. Not loud, not dramatic, just constant. A background noise that never fully turns off. Level 2, the working poor, $20,000 to $35,000 per year. There's a roof now, and that changes everything, but not in the way most people expect. Having a place to live brings stability, but it also introduces a different kind of tension, because now there's something to lose. The day starts with a habit that becomes automatic. Checking the bank account, not casually, not out of curiosity, it's a necessity. That number determines how the next 24 hours will unfold. A lower number means tighter decisions. A slightly higher number means breathing room, but only temporarily. Breakfast exists, but it's practical. Something that lasts, something that stretches. Eggs, oatmeal, simple meals that can be repeated without breaking the budget. Every purchase has weight. Grocery shopping isn't casual. It's mental math happening in real time. Comparing sizes, calculating unit prices, scanning for discounts. Coupons aren't optional. They're part of the system. Transportation tells another story. Maybe it's public transit, where timing controls the day. Or maybe it's a car that's still running, but not without issues. That check engine light? It's been there for a while. Fixing it isn't ignored, it's postponed. Because something else always comes first. Work isn't stable in the way people imagine. Hours change, schedules shift. Some days start earlier than expected, others disappear completely. Saying yes becomes the default answer to any extra shift. Not because it's enjoyable, because saying no has consequences. And here's where things get interesting psychologically. The stress isn't just about what's happening, it's about what could happen. There's a constant scanning for problems before they even appear. A car repair, a medical bill, a missed paycheck. Any one of those can disrupt everything, so the brain stays alert. Always, even at night. Sleep happens, but rest doesn't fully land. The body is still recovering, but the mind doesn't fully shut down. It's still running scenarios, still preparing for the next issue. That's the part most people don't talk about. It's not just physical exhaustion, it's mental fatigue that doesn't go away with sleep. Level 3. Lower middle class, $35,000 to $55,000 per year. Things look stable on the outside. Bills are mostly paid. The apartment is consistent. The heat works. The lights stay on. These are no longer daily concerns, and that matters more than people realize. But underneath that stability, there's a thin line, and it's always felt. The day begins with structure, an alarm clock instead of urgency, a routine that looks normal. Getting ready for work, preparing meals ahead of time, managing a schedule that doesn't change drastically from week to week. But even within that structure, there's awareness. A budget isn't optional. It's tracked closely. Every bill has a date. Every expense has a place. Apps are checked regularly, not out of fear, but out of necessity. Lunch is often packed, not because it's preferred, but because spending $10 or $12 daily adds up quickly. And at the end of the month, that difference matters. Transportation improves slightly. There's a car that works, but it comes with a loan. Payments are consistent. Credit score becomes important, not just as a number, but as a tool, something that has to be protected. Work feels more predictable. Showing up, doing the job, staying reliable. There's effort put into maintaining stability. PTO is tracked carefully. Sick days aren't just about health, they're about lost income. And socially, something subtle starts to happen. There's a performance. Around friends, around family, especially around people doing slightly better, everything appears fine, comfortable, stable. But the reality is more fragile than it looks. That gap between appearance and reality carries its own kind of weight. It's not about pretending entirely. It's about protecting dignity, keeping things together without exposing how close things can get to slipping. That quiet pressure builds over time. Level 4. Middle class, $55,000 to $100,000 per year. This is where life starts to feel manageable. Not perfect, not stress-free, but manageable. Bills are automated, there's an emergency fund, maybe a few months' worth. Retirement contributions exist. Things are no longer handled reactively, they're handled proactively. And that shift changes the day completely. Mornings feel smoother. Coffee is ready without effort. There's no immediate need to check account balances before starting the day. That urgency is gone. Routine becomes comfortable. Work, family, responsibilities, all of it flows with less friction. When something breaks, it gets fixed without major disruption. That alone creates a sense of control. But here's where a different kind of pressure shows up. The stress doesn't disappear, it evolves. Instead of worrying about today, the focus shifts to the future. Saving enough, investing correctly, making the right decisions long-term. There's more thinking ahead. Comparison also starts creeping in, not downward but upward. A neighbor upgrades their home, a coworker gets promoted, friends post vacations that seem just slightly out of reach. And suddenly, doing okay doesn't feel as satisfying as it once did. It's not about lacking, it's about measuring. And that measurement quietly reshapes expectations. Level 5. Upper middle class, $100,000 to $250,000 per year. Something shifts here, and it's not just income, it's how the day feels. There's a noticeable calm in the background, not total peace, but a reduction in noise. The kind of noise that used to come from constant financial calculations is mostly gone. Mornings don't start with checking balances anymore. They start with structure that feels chosen rather than forced. The home is owned, not rented. The neighborhood is intentional. Schools are part of the decision-making process, not an afterthought. Everything is a bit more settled. Bills don't need attention. They're handled automatically. Money moves behind the scenes, into savings, into investments, into retirement accounts. Without constant oversight, time becomes more valuable than money. That's the big transition. Instead of trying to save every dollar, the focus shifts toward saving time. Services that once felt like luxuries start to make sense. A cleaner, grocery delivery, lawn care. Not because they're flashy, but because they create space. And space becomes the new currency. Work looks different too. There's more responsibility, more decision-making, less repetition. The job involves thinking, leading, solving problems at a higher level. There's influence now, control over schedules, over priorities, over direction. But even here, pressure doesn't disappear. It evolves again. The questions change from will things be okay?
Are things being done right?
There's a focus on optimization. Is enough being saved? Is retirement on track? Is time being spent the right way? Is there enough presence with family? Enough progress in career? It's no longer about survival, it's about alignment. Level 6, wealthy, $250,000 to $1 million per year. At this level, most daily financial problems are gone. Not reduced, gone. The decisions that once required careful thought become automatic. Buying something doesn't involve hesitation. Replacing something doesn't require planning. Convenience becomes standard. The day reflects that. Mornings include quality, better food, better routines, better environments. There's a gym membership that actually gets used. Time for health becomes built into the schedule instead of squeezed in. There's less friction everywhere. If something breaks, it's fixed immediately. If something is needed, it's purchased without stress. The small obstacles that once interrupted the day no longer exist. But here's something unexpected. The emotional experience doesn't scale the same way income does. After a certain point, more money doesn't create dramatically more happiness. It creates smoother days, more options, fewer interruptions. But the baseline feeling stabilizes. The brain adapts. What once felt like a luxury becomes normal. What once felt exciting becomes expected. And then something else begins to show up. Distance. It becomes harder to relate to people in different financial situations. But it doesn't fully define fulfillment, because at every level there's still a search happening. For stability, for progress, for meaning. The variables change. The search doesn't. If this perspective shifted how different income levels are seen, take a moment to like the video and share it with someone who needs a deeper understanding of what life actually looks like across these stages. Subscribe for more content that breaks down real-life systems, psychology, and perspectives in a way that actually connects. Because sometimes understanding the full picture changes everything.